all you silly little ragooses, it's Carla, and I'm here today in my kitchen with a deep cut from where cooking begins. Today I am making rosemary chicken ragu with polenta. This is one of my favorite braises because I'm using dark meat skin on chicken, which is going to cook in like a third of the amount of time that red meat would take, but it's gonna deliver all of the deep, rich flavors of a long cooked braise because of this gorgeous bed of aromatic vegetables. And if that wasn't enough, a hands-off polenta method that is gonna create a bed for all of those sauces and shredded chicken to go on top. I haven't made this recipe in a while. I'm very excited to have it again. Let's cook. All braises pretty much start with browning. You need fat to brown. And so instead of using olive oil, I'm going to choose pancetta, which is a fat that also has a lot of flavor. The pancetta is then going to be a flavor in the base of the sauce. It's also going to become a garnish for the finished braise. So we're getting a lot out of this product. If you can't get your hands on pancetta, you could definitely use bacon. You could also use guanciale. Start with slab bacon, so you can cut it into nice big pieces so you actually get the texture of the pancetta at the end. I asked for this in one piece rather than buying sliced pancetta. You may be familiar with some of my previous pancetta work in videos such as pasta alla matriciana, which you can definitely check out. And you know what else is great, just like pancetta? Liking and subscribing. So if you like pork fat, please ring the bell, subscribe to the channel. All right, I'm over medium heat and I don't want to sear or like deeply brown the pancetta straight out of the gates. I want to start it on medium heat so that the fat starts to melt and render into the bottom of the pan before creating like a brown hardened seared edge, at which point it will be harder to get that fat to flow. This particular pancetta is really nice and meaty, so it's not throwing off a ton of fat, but I'm about 6 minutes in. I have some really nice golden brown coloring. It's starting to crisp, but it hasn't gone to like a fully crunchy state because we want it to have that nice juiciness and chewiness left to it. But I do want to remove the pancetta now. I'm gonna brown the chicken in these renderings. It's gonna be more beautiful flavor. And once the braise is going, I'm gonna throw the pancetta back in. I've got about 2 pounds of chicken thighs. It's about 8 thighs, 2 thighs per person. You could definitely use chicken leg quarters that still have the drumstick attached if you wanted to. I just like that when you're eating a thigh, there's only one bone to get out of the way and you just get a lot of really nice meat. It makes it super easy. A little black pepper. I'm gonna season the skin now and start it on the skin side, and then the other side will be available to me for seasoning. Same principle as the pancetta. I want the fat to render, so I wanna start on a moderate heat to let that happen, to let things start melting, rather than throwing the chicken into a really hot pan where it's just gonna seize up and get brown. You won't get as nice browning and you won't get as much fat rendering either. It's too cold to go outside. So now cooking has become our entertainment. It's become our companion. It's become our way to avoid other things that we don't feel like doing. And when you're browning meats for a braise, you're stepping into the meditative phase of cooking. So this is truly why cooking, relaxation, and recreation are bonded in harmony. Now I've got the whole underside, which is now the overside exposed. I'm gonna season that as well. So even though the majority of the braise is going to be hands off, this is the stage where you're paying attention. If you need to lower the heat because things are going too fast, you're nearby. You're watching, you're listening, you're learning, you're relaxing, and it's gonna take a minute. So it took 12 minutes, but we've arrived at a key moment for this recipe. With time and medium heat and some attention, the chicken is beautifully rendered and beautifully browned and ready to be turned over. I'm not looking for the same amount of color on the second side. I just want to cook it long enough to kind of sear and get lightly golden brown. That's going to take about 6 minutes, at which point the chicken won't be cooked through, but it will be time for the chicken to come out. While the second side is going is kind of a good time to prep the vegetables. So I'm going to smash a few cloves of garlic. I already have chopped fennel, chopped onion, rosemary standing by. Recipe calls for 6. This head has maybe 8. Just gonna put all of them in. What could go wrong? Chicken is ready to come out. Another important thing at this stage to kind of keep an eye on is all of those beautiful drippings and little bits of protein and skin that are sticking to the pan. You don't want those to burn either. So staying over this moderate heat is your friend in that as well. I have beautiful like caramel colored golden brown drippings, and that's exactly what you want to be looking for as well. All right, gorgeous pile of chicken is just gonna go to the side for a minute. Those aromatics going in, fennel, onion, garlic, right into the same fat. Right away, I'm gonna season this with salt as well. We're building flavor. Every single layer has to be seasoned nicely. As these vegetables cook, they're gonna get really nice and juicy. They're gonna start to release their liquid. That liquid is gonna help deglaze the bottom of the pan. Hello, class is in session. This spoon is going over there, and then it's going over here, and then going over there, then it's going over there, and then it goes there, and there, and there, and there. Things are underway, looking very juicy. All the fond is scraped up. I'm gonna season, instead of using black pepper, I'm going to season with red pepper at this point. I don't wanna add it right at the beginning because I didn't want it to burn. If you're not a spicy person, you can just add black pepper here. And I'm also gonna drop in the rosemary, give it a couple of squeezes first, get the aromas going, toss that in. And then we're gonna stay here cooking the veg until it starts getting brown, so a few more minutes. Vegetables are not only softened and translucent, but they're starting to take on a little bit of color. And the garlic, I can break up into smaller pieces with my spoon, and they're just smashing down, which is a really good indicator. So this is another key stage for the vegetables. They are right at the point where they are about to take on some really nice color, but they haven't totally fallen apart, and they're softened and juicy. Now, all of the drippings and the browning, the fond from the chicken that was deglazed from the vegetable cooking liquid, now what I have is a buildup of the browning and the fond from the sweetness in the vegetables themselves, which I'm gonna deglaze with some white wine. This white wine was what was left over from a bottle. I actually pulled this out of the freezer. So if you ever have just like the last little bit from a bottle of wine, don't pour it down the drain or pretend you're gonna drink it and then not drink it, just freeze it. So now with the liquid from the white wine, I can go back in and deglaze all of the vegetable browned bits. And I wanna continue cooking this until the wine has pretty much evaporated. So we're stirring and we're scraping, but we're also bubbling and simmering and cooking this wine off. Once the wine is cooked off, I'm doing one of the little cutie cans of tomatoes. These are whole tomatoes with their liquid. And I'm gonna rinse this out with like filling it halfway up with water. Pour that back over. I'm gonna use my spoon to just encourage these tomatoes to break up a little bit. They'll fall apart during the braise, but just kind of breaking the seal at the beginning. Remember to reserve half of the pancetta for garnishing later. So I'm gonna put half of it, eyeballing it, back in. And then the chicken's going back in the same formation, skin side up. The skin is sort of like, almost like a little built-in lid for the chicken. It's gonna keep them moist. The flesh side is gonna be down in this liquid, braising and falling apart. And any juices that were left on this plate, obviously, I wanna add those back into the pan as well. I'm increasing the heat to get us back to a simmer, which is, we're basically there. Important thing about a braise, you don't really want a rolling boil for a nice shallow braise like this. Just a gentle simmer that's gonna get maintained for the whole time that it's cooking. So I just wanna see that my liquid is at a simmer before I throw the lid on. This is gonna go for about an hour and a half. I'll check it maybe 2 to 3 times, but you want really low and slow, just maintaining a really bare simmer for 90 minutes. The chicken's been going for about an hour, so we're gonna just do one of our stir-in checks. Definitely not going too hot, too fast, and just kinda going in between to make sure nothing evaporated too much underneath the chicken and started to stick. It's beautiful, it's hot, it's cooking. This is the perfect time to start my oven polenta. You know, I've already made oven polenta before in my floppy broccoli recipe. If you haven't watched that, please do. And in it, you can see me go through all of the steps to making oven polenta start to finish. But I'm not gonna ask you to watch me do that again. Instead, I'm just gonna ask you to come along, use your imagination, and dream a little polenta dream.
All the corn is gold, and the sauce is red, making some polenta, with some chicken shred, creamy polenta dreaming, delicious times ahead.
Time to check the chicken. Oh, chicken check. Steam check, vibe check, chicken check. Getting to the end of the braise is about how much time has elapsed, but more importantly, it's about what is your chicken feeling like. So after 90 minutes, you want to get in there and check it out. I am looking for a shreddable texture, and even though I left the skin on, I want the skin to very easily just like slide right off. And with 2 forks, you should really be able to pull the meat apart into delicious bite-sized pieces. Oh yeah. Oh God, beautiful. I couldn't have asked for a more successful chicken check. All right, everybody is shredded. I removed bones and skin. I'm gonna add this back into this delicious ragu. And I'm serving it over polenta today, but you could just as easily use rice. Put this over pasta. You could spoon it onto big crusty pieces of bread in a shallow bowl, whatever you want to do. Taste and season. Pretty good. I don't think I need salt. I'm tasting the chili. Sauce is really nice and tomatoey, rich. It's good to go. Bring it all together, folks. Got my beautiful oven polenta. Creamy and delightful. Just want to get like all of the good bite-sized pieces of the chicken and lots of sauce and veg. And then everybody should enjoy a couple crispy pancetta on top. And by everybody, I mean me. Your choice on utensil. Put them both out. The other night I was making dinner and sitting down with my young lad, Cosmo, and he declared that the spoon is truly the most versatile utensil. And he might be right. I'm gonna go with the spoon in his honor. You get like really nice brightness from the tomato, which is balancing out. You've got all these like rich flavors, the sweetness of the onion. There's a little tang in the pancetta and the tomato and the aroma of the rosemary. You really got it all. People are gonna tell you a lot of things about braises. They're gonna tell you that they are one-pot cooking. They're gonna tell you that they are easy and hands-off. They're not gonna tell you that the braise represents escapism from our everyday life. And then I was transported through, frankly, there's no other way to put it, polenta dreamin'. And now I'm living a fantasy. Fantasy Polenta Island.